welcome to the new Honda Civic Type R. We finally got this eagerly anticipated hot hatchback back in the UK for its full road test. For those who watched our slightly rough and ready video from the car's launch in Slovakia, thank you so much. We had no idea. That video is currently at 400,000 views, so thanks so much for watching. This video is going to be a little bit more in depth and hopefully answer a lot of your questions that you've put into the comments. So, what do we actually have beneath us? Well, for the first time in VTEC history, the engine is turbocharged. This 2-litre monster will produce 306 brake horsepower, get you from 0 to 62 miles an hour in just 5.7 seconds, and go on to a top speed of 167 miles per hour. Let's appreciate that a minute. 167 miles per hour in a hatchback. What a time to be alive. All that power goes to the front wheels, and I hear you crying out, hold on a second, 306 brake horsepower, front wheel drive, is that going to involve a terribly torque steering accident into a tree? Well, Honda's engineers are no slouches, and whilst their Formula 1 performance has been questionable lately, this car is absolutely fantastically engineered. It really is brilliant. There's something called dual axis suspension and a really trick differential which allows for next to no torque steer. There is still a little under aggressive acceleration, but I mean much less than what you'd actually anticipate in a car like this. Quick first gear, slightly longer second, shift lights on the dashboard there, helping out with perfect timing, into fourth, and we're already doing some silly, unquotable speeds. This car is incredible. Whenever the turbo kicks in at about 3,000 RPM, it pulls like hell. Literally, it just fires you off down the road. And whilst there is a lick of lag, not loads, but there is a little bit, once that turbo gets going, oh my God, it really is relentless. You get sucked back in your seat, you can feel the front wheels hook up, and it's incredibly quick. The car's ASBO-inducing looks will divide opinion. Not everyone's going to be a big fan of the massive wings and the hey look at me red trim to the alloy wheels, but certainly in this blue it looks slightly more subtle than what it does in the Milano red or the quite racy white that we've seen before. Loads of compliments about this car. Blistered wheel arches hide the wider track, and of course we've got the front splitter diffuser. That rear wing's actually very clever. Not only does it produce rear downforce, but because of its shape, usually a rear wing creates drag, lowers top speed. This car's actually a few miles an hour faster with this wing on than without, according to engineers that I spoke to. It's all inspired by the world touring car machine that Honda field with plenty of success. So a lot of that technology has been funneled back into this car. It just all looks so brilliantly aggressive and testosterone filled, and some people will see that as churlish and not very grown up, but it's a not very grown up car, for God's sake. It's a 306 brake horsepower hot hatchback, which is debatably the fastest one around the Nürburgring. Whilst purists will miss the whole VTEC screamer rev range, this turbo engine gives the VTEC engine a new dynamic, really. It's all about keeping the turbos spooled up, and thanks to this really slick 6-speed manual transmission, it really is snick rifle bolt sort of transmission. Not only is it enjoyable to maintain in the rev range, but it's sort of, as a driver, it's something else to think about, it's something else to make you more connected. The whole experience is very involving in this car, and the engine is just one component of that. When you slab on those great big Brembo brakes and the car comes to a halt quite quickly and the back goes all light, it feels so adjustable. You tip it in with the really precise and accurate steering that we demonstrated by putting some paintballs on the apex of a corner earlier, and it absolutely nailed it. Pinpoint laser precision from the steering here. but as you slow the car down, it rotates around your hips. And as you pull yourself out of the corner, the Continental tyres really bite, giving you plenty of grip and confidence. Wow, 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 wow. This car is incredible. It bends your mind as to what is possible with a front-wheel drive hatchback. Wow. And that isn't even the car in its most aggressive mode. You push this +R button and it turns everything up to 11. The dampers stiffen up, the steering weights up, the torque mapping changes, and the throttle response increases. And oh my God, you are in track mode. This car will rip your face off. It is so fantastically composed around a corner, and it is so capable of generating the G's that I'm seeing on this G meter down here. It is biblical as a track car. However, if we slow things down a little bit and let my heart rate come to a bit more of a rest, this +R button on UK roads is not necessarily the best mode for this car to be in when you're driving it hard. Because our roads are a little bit battered, the stiff dampers can sometimes unsettle the car, which is not really what you want when you're charging into a corner headlong. So sometimes it is okay to turn it back down. It's still a very, very capable car in its normal mode. But please, God, please, do not let somebody buy this car who is not going to take it on a racetrack, because that is where you can exploit it. This car, I drove it on the Slovakia ring, and it's a challenging circuit, and it just lapped it up. It is so, so fantastically capable. There's loads of grip. It builds your confidence. This slick gearbox is just your perfect companion. You know, the steering's so precise. The weighting of the car is really, really well balanced. You can sort of feel it. It wants to play. It's not docile. I mean, just as the roads get challenging, the car is so composed. It's so flat. There's next to no body roll. It doesn't give you any hint that it is giving up any time soon. And to be perfectly honest, you've got to be a much better driver than me to get the most out of this car. Yeah, this car's a bit like Jekyll and Hyde, because whilst you're racing around at silly speeds, you put it into 6th gear and it all calms down. Yeah, there's a bit of road noise from those large alloy wheels, but other than that, it's quite comfortable. The suspension's relatively supple for a car like this. Okay, it's a little bit bumpy on rough British roads, but it's not unbearable, it's not back-braking. You settle down, and on the motorway you can see yourself doing a couple of hours stint in this car. That's incredible. And then you look around you and you go, oh my goodness, you can fit children in the back. There's a really big boot. In fact, it's one of the biggest boots in the class. And that difficult proposition of trying to get your wife or girlfriend to agree with you to spend money on a performance car like this, well, darling, there's space for the shopping in the back. So let's talk interior, because as soon as you get in, you are consumed by these absolutely fantastic bucket seats. They're massively bolstered, you're completely hugged by them, and then this beautiful red and black Alcantara. There's red stitching throughout the cabin. You get this really nice Type R embezzled dials down here. Honda's new Android-based infotainment system, which gives you access to DAB radio. All cars come standard with a reversing camera, which is useful because even the standard Honda Civic's rear visibility isn't great, because there's sort of a deck lid that runs across the back window. That said, that vast rear wing there doesn't impede vision at all. It actually sits above the roofline. So it's relatively comfortable up here. They're really supportive. They're great when you're kicking up massive G's in the corners, obviously, but they're also comfortable for a trip to the supermarket. And running costs seem to be relatively low as well. This car for the past week has been driven relatively hard most of the time, and combined we've been averaging about 27 mpg. That makes it pretty damn affordable. And whilst we're talking money, £30,000 for a car like this isn't too bad, but in the world we live in today, where you buy your house with a mortgage and your phone is pay monthly because it costs so much, if you decide to go pay monthly with this car, It's £300 a month with a £3,000 deposit. That's incredible. Most people with a full-time job can afford a Honda Civic Type R with 306 brake horsepower. This new Honda Civic Type R, left to its own devices, meets expectations. You hit that plus R button and show it the right environment, it totally surpasses them.